It all started with a tweet. The quickest path to becoming a high-value man: do not get married, avoid family creation, vasectomy in your 20s, lift consistently, eliminate all sedations, learn game and networking, play to your strengths, build wealth, and resist easing up on your focus. But who could defeat such a shit take? Introducing Destiny.
Lie implies intent, okay? If I tell you I'm gonna be home by 5, yes it does, you dumb bitch!
Sneako. Once enemies.
You're a bot. That was a bot. You just read a bot script. You just did a bot script to me.
I didn't even finish my point.
Because you do a bot script. Most people are bots. That's not responding to anything I'm saying.
Let me finish my point.
But in their darkest hour, can these two team up to defeat the godfather of the red pill himself?
Like, just say, what is a high-value man? It's the first part of the tweet. What does that mean?
You tell me what a high-value man is. Because here's the thing: is it doesn't matter what I'm going to say is a high-value man. You guys are fucking
nuts. Because it's your tweet.
Hey, so as
godfather or grandfather of the man? Which one is it?
Whatever it is, the old guy of the manosphere. What is your definition of high-value man? This is the #1 talked about topic on all of these shows. So I want to get a clear definition from you. What is it?
You tell, again, it depends on the person, it depends on the culture, depends on the point of the tweet is that everybody is going to take this and then insert their own definition of what a high-value man is.
What is a high-value man? You gave a list of 8 things. Do these 8 things to become a high-value man. Do 1 through 8 to become A. And you're not defining what A is.
The fastest way to becoming a high-value man is these things. You want to go, okay, let's go one by one. You want to go one by one? Okay,
no,
so
I want to go before one by one. What is a high-value man?
We can't have an argument if I don't even know what your definition is.
Is the very fact that you're even asking this in the first place is the actual point of the fucking tweet, okay? It's the point of the fucking tweet is that it's your definition of what it is.
You can say that Ben Shapiro. You said Ben Shapiro is not a high-value man, so you must be comparing him to some standard in your head. You said Bezos is not a high-value man. You said Elon Musk is not a high-value man. So there's some standard in your head that you're comparing these guys to that they're not matching up to. What is that standard?
Right. So if you're going to be a high-value man with the fucking hands tied behind your back, then what is that? What does that mean to you? That's the point. This whole discussion is the point of the fucking tweet. You guys,
one of the tweet was, you've got some conception of a high-value man. Here are 8 points that you think you need to do to get to it. And now you're getting blown the fuck up on the vasectomy thing, which you probably realize is fucking retarded. But you're too old and stubborn to walk back from it. That's the point of this conversation.
I'm not too stubborn to walk back from it because the point of it was to get douche nozzles like yourself to have this conversation in the first place.
What's up, losers? So let's jump into it. Sneako and Destiny were asking Rollo for his definition of what a high-value man is, based on his tweet and his broader work. Rollo said that definition is going to differ from person to person and culture to culture. And it's like, yes, but you, Rollo, made a set of prescriptions as to what steps need to be taken to most quickly become a high-value man. 8 very specific prescriptions, right? So embedded in those prescriptions is some meta definition of what a high-value man is to Rollo. Even though the specific manifestation of that is going to differ between cultures, there's still obviously some general guiding meta principle by which he is defining high value, because he's saying that in order to become high value, do these things, right? He's loading his meta definition of high value into this statement and these prescriptions. He's giving you the means to achieve some end. So how is he defining the end, right? That's what Destiny and Sneako were asking. Here's why the debate went off the rails. Okay, so Destiny and Sneako were asking a question to Rollo, and we'll call this question 1. Question 1 asks, what are the general guiding principles that Rollo uses to define the term high-value man? Like, for example, is it defined by high wealth relative to your culture? Is it defined by being attractive to lots of women? Is it defined by being emotionally fulfilled? Is it defined by providing value to others? Like, what are the general principles, the general definition of high-value man according to Rollo? That's what they were asking. Now, Rollo heard this question, and he pretended like Destiny and Sneako were asking a totally different question, and we'll call this question 2. Question 2 asks exactly how much money should you be making to the dollar, exactly how many women should you be banging, exactly what your life should look like to be a high-value man, right? This is narrow, specific, and will obviously be subjective and differ between people, right? Destiny and Sneako were asking question 1. Rollo goes, you guys are asking question 2. And then Rollo proceeds to say, I can't answer question 2 because that answer is going to differ between people and cultures. And then he defines high-value man as whatever contextually makes that guy a high-value man, in whatever culture he happens to be in, right? And they went in circles for 45 minutes and got nowhere. Let me bridge the conversation and answer the question because I happen to know Rollo's answer. Rollo's definition of a high-value man is basically someone who is his own mental point of origin, meaning he puts himself first. He has high social status, high wealth, so either access to money or territory or resources of some sort, and he has access to a wide range of female sexual partners who all want to have sex with him. That's it. That's Rollo's definition, and he said as much all throughout his career and even in his tweet the day after the debate. So why was he afraid to give this definition on Fresh and Fit? Rollo isn't stupid. He knew what Destiny and Sneako were asking. They were asking question 1, right? What are the general criteria of a high-value man, which Rollo defines very clearly in his book and his broader work. So why did Rollo pretend to be confused as if they were asking question 2, like exactly how many women and how many dollars do you need to be high value? Like, of course they weren't asking that. I don't know why Rollo dodged the question, but I'll tell you how the conversation would have played out had he answered the question that was actually being asked. He would have given the definition that I just gave, the one that he believes: status, wealth, and desirability. And then he would say that the steps in his tweet are the things that men ought to do if they want to be in a place where they can then maximize their ability to achieve those things. Rollo would say that having a family and kids when you're young gets you away from that purpose, from that grind, from that process of maximizing those things. And so if you hold off on the family, marriage, kid stuff, you don't have those time suckers to pull you away from maximizing your status, wealth, and desirability, ergo your value. Rollo would say, then you have the freedom to work out the details of exactly what being high value is going to look like for you. Like, exactly what work do you want to do? How much money do you want to make? How many women do you want to have? After you're older and you've built a massive amount of status, wealth, and desirability. That would be Rollo's honest answer. So when he says this tweet is meant to make people ask and decide for themselves what does being high value look like, he's telling a half-truth, because yes, he's saying that people can work out what exactly that looks like relative to their culture and time and place. But the overarching principles that build the framework of what high-value man means, Rollo is defining that as wealth, status, and desirability. When Rollo gives the prescriptions in his tweet, he's already loaded into it this general definition. So when he says the point of the tweet is to get people to decide how they define high value, what he means, really, is that they get to decide how to fill in the details within the framework that Rollo built. The way Rollo defines value, his meta definition of high value man. But that meta definition is the very thing that Destiny and Sneako were asking about and trying to get him to define. Here's the problem with Rollo's idea and his tweet and what our two protagonists were trying to point out, and that Rollo seemed totally unwilling to address. What if people do not define high value on the meta level in the way that Rollo does? Right? What if their meta definition, their entire framework of value, is not what Rollo says it ought to be? What if someone values having a family young? What if that is the thing that brings them the most fulfillment? What if they don't want to maximize their social status and become super rich and have sex with tons of women? What if they just want a quieter life, a simpler life? A life where they feel fulfilled and have inner peace and are happy. And the things Rollo tells them they ought to want, even in a general sense, are not the things that they actually want or that would make them fulfilled. What if what someone wants are genuine, close emotional connections with others, with a spouse, or with their family? Rollo isn't just telling people what they ought to do to achieve some end, he's telling them what they ought to want. In Rollo's tweet, the last 5 points are pretty unobjectionable if you take them in their most reasonable interpretation. He's just saying to exercise, get rid of time wasters or sedations, learn game and networking, which are just social skills, play to your strengths and build wealth, and stay focused on your goals. All that is fine and applies to most people. Like, most people would agree that this stuff is valuable and increases your well-being, right? But the first 3, don't get married, don't have family or kids, presupposes that being a high-value man is at odds with these things, that these things are impediments to getting to a place where you can better achieve some range of other things that will then make you high value. But that is Rollo's definition. His philosophy reveals his personal values. Rollo values high social status. Rollo values massive wealth. Rollo values tons of sex. Most people value these things to some extent, but the amount of these things that it takes to satisfy most people is pretty moderate and something that having a family doesn't necessarily prevent you from. If I were to give the reasonable version of Rollo's prescriptions, I would say, don't get married and start a family before you're ready. I would say make sure to put yourself first and have a purpose and an identity outside of your family or duty to others, because your first duty is to yourself. right? But once you're in a stable financial place and you're relatively happy with your time management skills, your social abilities, and your confidence and attractiveness in your life in general, then, if you want, get married and start a family. Now, I don't know if Rollo means that in order to maximize being high value, to just wait before you get married and have a family, or to never do these things at all. But whatever the case may be, he should have at least given his meta definition of what being a high value man is and engaged with the question so they could have actually had a conversation. But instead, he pivoted and deflected like crazy, tactics I've talked about in previous videos, and he ended up looking like a total ass. I hope they can have an actual conversation at some point in the future, because this certainly was not one. I hope that this clarified what the confusion was, because it's super simple. Rollo just dodged the question. And if he ever wants to have a real conversation with Destiny or Sneako, I'd love to see it.